They said Paige and Luca are the same, and Luca doesn't even watch her. Luca said he doesn't care about Paige.
Who's your favorite women's basketball player?
Caitlin Clark.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't like Paige Bueckers?
No. She's okay. I didn't see her playing the women's NBA, so.
She just got drafted.
#1.
Dallas.
Luka Doncic straight away throwing shade at Paige Bueckers.
Some comments from Steph Curry have emerged. Steph Curry, as we know, shoot the lights out from three-point range. That's interesting. Her release time is identical to mine.
Just when you thought the drama couldn't get any juicier, Luka Doncic stepped up and lit the fuse, publicly dismissing Paige Bueckers and making it loud and clear who his favorite women's basketball player really is.
I think Caitlin Clark is half Steph Curry, other half Larry Bird. When it comes to motion, when it comes to moving the needle, we all know the one that does that in women's sports, and that is Caitlin Clark. She continues to set ridiculous numbers all over the place.
When asked about his top pick in the WNBA, Luka didn't hesitate. His answer? Caitlin Clark.
Let's get to Luka Doncic. He was asked about his favorite women's basketball player. Listen to this. Who's your favorite women's basketball player? Caitlin Clark. You don't like Paige Bueckers? Quote, shrugs. She's okay. Haven't seen her play in the WNBA, so, and when he sees her play in the WNBA, he won't be that impressed either.
And his tone? Pure shade. Toward Paige, toward Dallas, and toward the hype machine trying to crown a new queen.
He used to play in Dallas, which is where Paige Bueckers plays.
But Luka didn't stop at a casual comment. His smirk, his laugh, and the way he brushed off Paige Bueckers sent shockwaves through social media and left no room for confusion. It was Clark over everyone. Period.
A reputable basketball publication, Bleacher Report, stating that Paige Bueckers led the nation in assists twice in her college career. She has been top 15 once. She was 63rd last year when she led the nation assists. Now, Georgia Amore, who had more assists than Paige, did not lead the nation assists as well. It is literally the media just lying. They are literally just lying.
And just when the smoke started rising, Steph Curry entered the conversation with a powerful endorsement of Caitlin's game, backing up Luka's pick with facts that are impossible to ignore. As the media scrambles to spin narratives, fans are waking up to the real story, and it's time we lay it all out.
I saw somebody break down the release time, which is pretty much identical to mine.
If you're a Caitlin Clark fan and want to support her, type 100% in the comments right now. The moment was casual, almost too casual, but the impact was seismic.
In her final year at Virginia Tech, she averaged 6.8 assists per game and then led the nation.
Not only is it eradicating Caitlin Clark, it's eradicating Serena Sundell. Like, if you look at Paige Bueckers' seasons, or if you look at last season, Serena Sundell averaged 0.4 assists more than Georgia Amore, but nearly 3 assists more than Paige Bueckers.
There's another trading card that's sold for an absurd amount of money. You'd have to pay $244,000 to have gotten that card.
During a lighthearted interview, Luka Doncic was asked a simple question. Who's your favorite women's basketball player? Without hesitation, Luka responded, Caitlin Clark. But it wasn't just his answer that set the internet on fire. It was what came next. When the interviewer followed up and mentioned Paige Bueckers, Luka shrugged. Literally. His response? She's okay. No excitement, no hype, no attempt to sugarcoat it. Then, as if to twist the knife just a little more, Luka added that he hadn't seen her play in the WNBA because, of course, she hasn't even made her debut yet.
Newly drafted Dallas Wings guard Paige Bueckers will make her preseason debut on May 2nd against the Aces. I'm very interested to see the rating on that.
The moment Dallas was mentioned, the city where Paige now plays, Luka couldn't help but laugh. That single reaction told fans everything they needed to know.
And this is from Bleacher Report, ranking the rookies by a WNBA expert. This is just lying.
Their season, she's been flirting with 4 assists. And this past season, she also led the nation in assists with 4.6 assists.
So Paige Bueckers led the nation in assists with 4.6 assists per game. She was 63rd. So when Caitlin Clark was still in college, and Caitlin was 2 entire assists ahead of second place. And Georgia Amore was 4th.
Not only do I not think Paige is going to move the needle, I don't think she's going to flutter it. I don't think it's going to vibrate slightly.
Luca doesn't buy into the Paige Bueckers takeover talk, especially not in his city. And let's not pretend this was a one-time jab. Luka Doncic has a long memory and a complicated history with the WNBA. People forget he once caught heat from fans after the league tried to prop up certain narratives using his image.
Why hasn't Middle America given Paige Bueckers the Caitlin Clark treatment?
Paige Bueckers is woke as hell. She's going to come into the league and join the WNBA activism. She's probably not going to be embraced over that because we are sick of it.
Even though he hadn't been involved or even attended games. So when Luka speaks on the women's game, he doesn't hold back. He doesn't play politics. He tells it like it is. And this time he made it crystal clear.
2020-21 season, when she said Paige led the NCAA in assists, it was Aleta and Caitlin was third with 7.8 assists per game. Paige averaged 5 and I think she was 15th.
Caitlin Clark is the real deal. Paige? Not so much. What makes it even more brutal is the context. Paige Bueckers is being promoted as the next big thing.
If you look at all these seasons, first season Paige was 15. The second season Paige played, Caitlin Clark led the NCAA in assists with 8 assists per game. Paige did not play in 22-23, and in 23-24, Caitlin Clark is 2.1 entire assists ahead of Georgia Amor, who she said led NCAA in assists.
Some fans are even floating wild claims that she could become the face of Dallas basketball, as if she's ready to step in and fill Luka's shoes.
I thought Paige Bueckers was a star. I thought Paige Bueckers was the secondary great white hope. It didn't matter who Caitlin Clark was playing, and the game would be headline news. That is what's missing in women's college basketball this season.
That's not just ridiculous, it's insulting. Luka's response slammed the door shut on that fantasy, and he did it with barely a sentence. But Luka's shade isn't just petty entertainment, it's a reflection of how real athletes view impact players. Caitlin Clark didn't just put up stats, she changed the landscape of women's basketball. Luka recognizes that. He sees her shooting range, her court vision, her confidence, and he respects it. Meanwhile, Paige hasn't even touched the WNBA court, and her debut game hasn't sold out. A far cry from Clark's rookie season, which broke attendance records, viewership milestones, and even trading card sales.
Basically, Wings GM conveys key difference in Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark's rookie season. He said the one thing when you talk about last season is that Paige won't have the benefit that Caitlin did. And this is nothing against Caitlin, but we had an Olympic break last year. So you got to see some players take a month-long break, essentially. And those rookies were coming off a grueling season in the collegiate game. They got a break and got to reset and finish strong. This draft class, which includes Paige, is not going to have that luxury. We don't have a big break where they can almost catch a second win and then push to the finish line in the second half of the season, he continued. So we have to watch this rookie class around the league about load management. It's not just our rookies. We're all going to be tuned in to load management, especially these rookies that played long into their collegiate season. I didn't really see any of the benefit that Caitlin Clark got coming into the season.
So when Luka says Caitlin Clark with confidence and brushes off Paige Bueckers with a shrug and a smirk, it's not personal, it's honest. Luka Doncic knows greatness when he sees it, and he just told the world exactly where he sees it. If Luka Doncic's statement was a shot, then Steph Curry's response was the knockout. While Luka casually threw shade, Steph came with substance. And what he said about Caitlin Clark silenced even the harshest critics.
Been very complimentary in the past about Caitlin Clark. She's on the verge of breaking the scoring record. I mean, do you see any comparisons in the way that she shoots to your people compared to the way you two shoot? Do you see anything?
I saw somebody break down the release time, which is pretty much identical to mine. And then her just confidence. You can't help but watch when she plays, where she's shooting from, the range, the confidence, the flair. Like, she's a performer. It's crazy, though, just because her shot it's like that. It's at that level. But if you really watch, like, her floor game is as impressive. So it's kind of the total package. And her being the friends of breaking that record, and the amount of attention that she has gained over the course of these last couple of years. Every building she goes into, there's a different energy. Like, it's great for her, great for women's basketball.
During an interview, Steph didn't just compliment Clark, he broke down her game with surgical precision. He talked about her release time, calling it identical to his own. Let that sink in. The greatest shooter in NBA history sees his shooting mechanics reflected in Caitlin Clark. But it didn't stop there. Steph highlighted her confidence, her deep-range shooting, and, perhaps most importantly, her floor game.
We want to see Caitlin Clark and we want to see Paige Bueckers.
Caitlin scored more points per game, but Paige was more efficient.
Paige Bueckers has had one of the best careers in the history of women's college basketball. On paper, you could make the case that Paige Bueckers has better college career than Caitlin Clark. But this is the world of television, where you're not judged based on your accomplishments, you're not judged based on your stats, you're judged based on your drawing power. And looking at these ratings for the women's tournament, it is abundantly clear Paige Bueckers might be a star, but she's not a draw.
These two were the topic of conversation. Who's the better player?
She's not nearly the player that Caitlin Clark is.
You know, she's been really disappointing this whole tournament.
We're not creating this rivalry. We're not saying they hate each other, but they are two of the best in the game right now.
He made it clear. Caitlin isn't just a shooter, she's a full-package playmaker who controls the tempo, reads the floor, and makes teammates better. That's not hype. That's a Hall of Famer giving credit where it's earned. And Clark's numbers back every word.
I got to be with those women up close and personal. I was in practices, I was at shoot-arounds, I was in the locker room.
That's a great experience, though. So you was able to get a real close view of what it was like to be a WNBA player at that time.
Yeah, and it was like not glamorous at all, but I was a kid, so to me, I thought it was like the most amazing thing ever. Right. But when you have conversations with like Taj and stuff like that, they're like, "That was a mess. It was ghetto. It was bad. It was a mess." Yeah, but we still talk about like how the league was like 6-7 years ago. We have like things like, "I can't believe we was doing this." We was sharing rooms.
No, we was definitely sharing rooms. I was just telling Natalie and Tom, I was like, "Bro, we really was sharing rooms and you was talking in your sleep before games." Like you literally would know that you was talking in your sleep.
You gotta leave room to get on FaceTime with their boo.
You gotta leave out the room.
Sitting in the lobby at midnight.
Let's start with college. Caitlin Clark became the all-time leading scorer, male or female, a feat that cemented her as a once-in-a-generation player before she ever touched the WNBA. She averaged 28.4 points, 7.1 rebounds, and a staggering 8.2 assists per game at Iowa. Those aren't just good numbers, they're video game stats. But she didn't stop at college domination. In her rookie WNBA season, Clark exploded onto the professional stage, leading the league in average assists and earning the Rookie of the Year title. She dropped multiple triple-doubles, led a surge in ticket sales, and transformed Indiana Fever games into must-watch events. Her presence alone shifted the league's national schedule. Broadcasters lined up just to get a piece of the Clark effect. And in a moment that symbolized her star power, one of her signed rookie trading cards sold for a jaw-dropping $244,000. That's not marketing hype, that's legacy in motion.
On Monday, the league announced that 4 preseason games will run on national television. The first time in league history that multiple exhibition games will air nationally. Indiana Fever's exhibition against the Brazilian national team on May 4th would air on ESPN. Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and the rest of the Fever will also be on national television on May 3rd.
Now let's compare that to Paige Bueckers. Her debut game in Dallas, not sold out. Her rookie buzz, mostly manufactured by media and fan expectations, not on-court production. In fact, when Clark played her first WNBA game, demand was so high the venue was changed to a larger arena. Meanwhile, Bueckers' debut hasn't generated anywhere near the same energy. No headlines, no record-breaking moments, not even a buzz of national anticipation.
So basically, we know Natalie Esquire, a serial hater when it comes to the Caitlin Clark fan base. She's pretty much a driving force behind a lot of the drama that take place in the media.
You have other people like Sabria Whitaker. I'm sorry. You have so many people out there, and people like this, the committee, which is, a group of really, really strong women's basketball fans on Twitter, they have influence. Dawn Staley flew 2 members of the committee to South Carolina's opening game in Paris, okay?
So they're calling old guard WNBA fans the committee. These are the same people that is pushing race narratives. These are the same people that is bashing Caitlin Clark. These are the people she's talking about.
And yet, some voices keep trying to claim she's Clark's equal, or worse, her replacement. Let's be honest, the impact gap is massive. Caitlin Clark's effect isn't just statistical, it's cultural. She's changed the way people talk about women's basketball. She's filled arenas, inspired a new wave of fans, and brought in media attention the league has never seen. Steph Curry saw it, Luka Doncic saw it, and the fans, especially the new ones, saw it too. So while Paige may still have time to prove herself, the scoreboard right now isn't even close. Clark has the stats. Clark has the respect, and Clark has the crown. While Luca and Steph were busy speaking facts, a very different game was being played behind the scenes and in front of the camera by the so-called gatekeepers of WNBA media. This isn't just a rivalry between players, it's a battle for control over the narrative. And some folks in the media just can't handle the fact that Caitlin Clark didn't need their permission to take over the league. One of the loudest voices trying to twist that narrative is none other than Natalie Esquire, a name that's become synonymous with the anti-Clark agenda.
The hate in Natalie Esquire's heart is so strong, LOL. She said this in 4 different ways for absolutely no reason. NBC, at Indiana Fever, we don't want her covering America's team. Natalie Esquire said only one is super problematic, emo, in my experience, and based on listening to what has been said and reported on all year, it's a common theme. I only get harassed to endure racism, receive threatening emails, DMs from one fan base. So yes, it's one. It can apply in all of sports, but there is a notable difference in one fan base with respect to the W. This tweet said, no, it's one. It's not allegedly. This is my experience, and it only comes from a specific set of fans. So yes, for me, it's one fan base. You've already heard a player say in her career she's never experienced anything like this. Stop trying to violate our experience.
Throughout the past season, Natalie has gone out of her way to discredit Caitlin Clark and her fan base, often framing criticism around race and accusing Clark's supporters of being problematic. But here's the problem. This narrative isn't based on basketball. It's built on bitterness, fear, and a desperate attempt to hold on to control in a media landscape that's leaving them behind. Natalie Esquire wasn't just offering opinions, she was fanning flames. She claimed she was being harassed exclusively by one fan base, Caitlin Clark's. She painted Clark's supporters as aggressive and toxic, while ignoring the massive wave of positivity and growth they brought to the league. And it wasn't just Clark's fans being dragged, it was independent creators too. People like John Liquidator and other YouTubers who've exploded in popularity by covering Clark honestly. These are voices that don't play by the old rules, and that's exactly why they're winning.
All they can think to do is infer, insinuate racism, just claim racism. Ratings explode.
A lot of Caitlin Clark fans, and so many of them are not white. It's just insulting to assume that that's the case to the people that aren't white, to the Black Americans that do love Caitlin Clark.
Eaton Thomas contrasts how white Americans view the two based on stark differences in speaking out against racial injustice. Quote, perhaps it's because unlike Clark, Bueckers has always been outspoken about issues off the court, Thomas wrote in a Guardian article. At the 2021 ESPYs, Bueckers was named the College Athlete of the Year. She used her acceptance speech to celebrate and honor Black women in particular. In Bueckers' famous ESPY speech, she used her platform to recognize those who didn't get the same recognition as her, specifically highlighting black women. While black America cheered Bueckers, it seemed like mainstream white America, a demographic once viewed her as, in her words, a media darling, weren't singling out her praises. Is it a coincidence, or maybe because her injuries have made people forget her greatness as an athlete? But she's back from injury, and now why aren't people focused on Bueckers as they were Clark last year when she was tearing up college basketball? Maybe if Bueckers had delivered a more vanilla ESPY speech, things would be different. This is a completely embarrassing article. Caitlin Clark is a worldwide phenomenon whose playing style has drawn a level of hype that hasn't been seen in basketball in a decade.
This old guard media, sometimes referred to mockingly as the committee, is panicking. Why? Because the power is shifting. For years, they controlled the WNBA storyline, who got attention, who got praise, and who got buried. But Caitlin Clark changed that overnight. Now, it's not just about who has the most connections or the right friends in media circles. It's about who actually moves the needle. And Caitlin moves it, breaks it, smashes it. The backlash has been telling. When Natalie Esquire started taking heat for her anti-Clark rants, she didn't double down on basketball. She doubled down on race narratives and identity politics. She framed legitimate criticism as harassment and positioned herself as the victim, even as her own words fueled division.
The second chapter of the Caitlin Clark era in the WNBA will commence soon. Clark established herself as a superstar in her rookie season with the Indiana Fever and will now lead a championship hopeful team into year 2. However, before the season begins, Clark was involved in a major news headline that featured a 6-figure price tag. Clark's edition of the 2024 Piani Prism WNBA Throwback Signatures Golden Vinyl card has been officially sold.
Meanwhile, Clark never even clapped back. She just kept hooping, setting records, and letting her game speak for itself. And let's be clear, this isn't just about Natalie. It's about the entire structure of WNBA commentary that's struggling to stay relevant. These are people who for years thought they were the gatekeepers. Now they're being bypassed by a generation of fans and creators who don't need their approval. The proof? Look at the view counts, the sold-out arenas, the viral moments, all driven by Clark, not by the committee. It's why Luca's comments stung so badly. It wasn't just a diss to Paige Bueckers. It was a gut punch to every voice that's tried to minimize what Clark is doing. And it's why Steph Curry's praise hit so hard. It came from a legend, not a media puppet. So while the traditional media figures scramble to keep their footing, the truth is clear. Caitlin Clark didn't wait for anyone's permission to rise. She didn't need a PR team to make her relevant, and she's not going anywhere.
There's an Angel Reese card out there right now that's on eBay that somebody has a ridiculous price on, and it's just been sitting there forever. It's collecting dust.
The light that I have now as a white woman who leads a black-led sport and celebrated here, I want to show a light on black women. They don't get the media coverage that they deserve. They've given so much to the sport and the community and society as a whole, and their value is undeniable. The WNBA, last season, the postseason awards, 80% of the winners were black, but they got half the coverage as the white athletes. So I think it's time for change. Sports media holds the key to storylines. Sports media and sponsors tell us who is valuable, and you have told the world that I matter today, and everyone who voted, thank you. But I think we should use this power together to also celebrate black women.
Don't you realize these black girls all paved the road that she's traveling, that these black women built the WNBA, that these black women carried women's basketball, and now all the racists love women's basketball because they're racist and they have Caitlin Clark. Just not true.
So there you have it. Luka Doncic didn't just speak his mind, he dropped a truth bomb on the entire league. While some are still trying to force Paige Bueckers into a spotlight she hasn't earned yet, the real stars have already spoken. Luca picked Caitlin Clark. Steph Curry backed her skill with facts. And the numbers? They've already crowned her impact undeniable. But this story is about more than just comparisons. It's about a changing of the guard. The old media voices can cry, spin, and twist all they want. The fans have already decided. Caitlin Clark is the future. She's drawing crowds, breaking records, and redefining what it means to be a star in women's basketball. And she's doing it with class, focus, and unmatched talent. So if you're tired of the politics, the gatekeeping, and the hate, let your voice be heard. Because what Luca and Steph did wasn't just support, it was a challenge to the entire system. And now, it's our move. Type 100% in the comments if you stand with Caitlin Clark and believe her greatness speaks louder than the noise. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because we're just getting started. Catch you in the next one.